Good tidings, Earthlings. It is League Unlock. That young man is Mark. My name is Eric, and we are finally approaching the summer split, which means it is time for everybody's favorite, or least favorite, depending on your view, power rankings in the LCS. And you know, it's a disaster to rank the teams in North America, much like it was in the middle of spring.
Hey, you know what's a disaster? When we rank these teams, keep in mind that 8 teams from the LCS will be going to playoffs this split. And I can promise you, you can maybe even combine years. And I don't know if you can you can combine splits, years, whatever, how many you want to put together. I don't know if you can come close to 8 quality playoff teams in North America. I don't think we're going to get it this split, but it's always fun to run down the power rankings.
3 is a struggle to get to. 8 is just, you might as well just skip the regular season, just play the
LEC? Come on.
Just play it with all the 10 teams. But we are going 10-1, starting with that number 10 squad, which is different from what we were expecting last year. It is Dignitas. They shed the salary of Huni, which you can say is a step in the right direction, perhaps a positive move. The problem is, one of Viper or Lorlo is starting in the top lane, and Lorlo's been great in Academy. Viper has had moments. They signed Dardoch. Acadian should be the starter, but there's just, I didn't see anything that's going to help this team. Huni should have been maybe something that you could look to as a strong point. It didn't end up being, but I'm not convinced at all with this roster.
I'm going to commit to this analogy because it's a lot like you got a bowl of pasta, and last split, you put a bad sauce on that pasta. You got rid of the sauce. You were ready to have a very nice dinner this split, and all of a sudden, you decided, not only am I going to put tomato sauce, I'm going to put pesto sauce, I'm going to put barbecue sauce, I'm going to put ketchup on this. You tried every type of sauce into this bowl of pasta, and I tell you what, I don't want to be the one to take that first test bite here, and that's exactly what Dignitas have created for their fans for the summer split. If I'm you, I'm not taking a bite.
I think Froggen is past being that main primary carry that we can talk about in North America. He's had moments, but it's just not the threat that he's going to completely carry games. It gets to the late game and he can do his thing. He's obviously going to be insane at farming, but they need that aggression that I just don't think they're going to have. I don't think Acadian is going to be enough. Maybe 10th is a little bit harsh for them, especially when coming in at number 9, you have a team like Immortals who, hey, you just mentioned Dignitas tried things. They made some changes. Immortals said, you know what? Last split, we were a game or 2 away from playoffs. Let's run it back, boys. Exact same roster. We're still the French squad.
But we wanted Dignitas to make maybe 1 or 2 clear changes and move on from that situation. Immortals was the team that we wanted to actually see more changes to this roster, either from the beginning of spring split and then looking like we were going to be proved completely wrong, and it ended up being somewhere in the middle as far as the performance and underperformance of the Immortals organization. But when you look into summer and you look at this roster, absolutely you would have wanted to tool up some more. And again, it doesn't mean to be, a negative sticking point, but you look at Immortals and you look at what's been going on and some of the names thrown around for free agents in the mid lane. And it is, again, a question of using an import slot here for this player.
I'm hard-pressed to not see Ica and even your boy Soaz getting the NA check, not being in the bottom 2 when it comes to solo laners, and that's just not going to cut it, especially in this meta where bot lane is at least somewhat irrelevant for now, even though Apollo and Hawkwo, they cannot be denied. It doesn't matter the team. They will find each other, and they will be on a squad together. Spot ahead of Immortals. You might be saying, what? How can this 3-win team in Counter Logic Gaming be as high as number 8? And yes, the playoff border could see CLG in playoffs for summer. But
oh no.
You take a look at this team when Pobelter joined, and they were much better. They were improving. They got a win against TSM to close out the split. The numbers look incredibly gross because of how terrible the first half of the split was, but they looked much better than some of the other teams even in the second half or the last 3 weeks of spring.
That's really the incredibly important thing when you're considering this organization and the success that they could possibly have. is going to have to be that back half of the split, because what we saw at the beginning of the split, what everybody saw, some of those performances, no, that's, you're going to be quickly in 10th place taken over from Dignitas if that's how the split goes for CLG. But what we saw in the back half of the split, the performances from the organization, the players, it was certainly of the level that's going to be better than these two that we've already described there. And when you're talking about CLG and the bounce back, you're right. It is going to be big on Pobelter's shoulders. And man, I can't help but think that there would have been a squad that looks to push deeper into playoffs that could have been better suited with someone like Pobelter. Immortals.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Would that free up an import slot, too? That seems...
wow.
A good decision. Golden Glue, where are you? Oh, okay. I would have liked to see some kind of changes from CLG, but maybe they were confident enough in the second half of that split, at least looking better on the Rift, but maybe changes in the bot lane, maybe something with Ruin. Do you still... This is probably the last split you give Wiggly. If there's not some improvement from Spring, I think he's going back down to Academy.
Yeah, and as far as a CLG's perspective, this has to be the last split, at least from your organization's perspective, as far as committing to this. If Wiggly's going to become a star after this split, it's going to have to be somewhere else for CLG. I think you have to move on and try new things.
It's starting to be outweighed, the good splits he's had versus the suspect ones during his time on CLG. In at number 7, and again, very much in the playoff race, it's a team that finished 3rd in the regular season, which you might say, how are you going to have them so low in 100 Thieves? They obviously had a short run in playoffs. It ended pretty quickly in that loser's bracket to TSM, but there was improvement, no doubt. They've re-signed Someday. All the starters are coming back. Ryoma, no question, he had growth and improvement throughout the split. Just still feel like there's not enough outside of Someday to really take this team to the next level. That combined with almost all of the teams ahead of them making some kind of change in the offseason, and you find them down at 7.
I'd love to see some more consistency coming through from the jungle for 100 Thieves. I think that is an area you can look at as possibly improving, because I don't know how much more value you can possibly get out of a player like Someday. You look down towards the bottom side, Cody's son is pretty consistent and steady, a good option down there. And then, as you said, Ryoma is this player that we saw make strides, make some development in the spring split, and it's certainly going to be a big point. If they're, if they fall at 7, it's going to be because you're not having that progression, that development from Ryoma. But if they get further on in the power rankings as the split goes on, that's absolutely where you're going to see his progression, his development, making an impact for the 100 Thieves roster.
And it's also a question, did they make pick bans around Someday? That's kind of been something we've talked about. This will be going on 3 years with 100 Thieves, where the meta has been suited for top laners to carry in a lot of these games, and we just haven't really seen Someday on a lot of those picks. And when we do, he completely carries the game, whether it's a Lucian or a Jax or even an Aatrox. We've seen him do it. So get carries into Someday's hands a lot more. But it's got to be the rest of the team stepping up for 100 Thieves to be a legit contenders in summer. Next on the list, we move into what used to be the playoff hopefuls, but now these guys are thick in the playoff race. Might even be higher seeds in some of those matchups. And one of the teams made one of my favorite moves of the offseason, snuck it in pretty last minute. Damonte goes over to Golden Guardians. I think Golden Glue, it was pretty clear, was the weakest link of this roster in spring. Fully expect Damonte to be an immediate upgrade, and Golden Guardians, you pair that now with the aggression of Closer, Haunser, still pretty good in lane. FBI is a menace in the laning phase. They're looking pretty decent, and like a team that I actually deserve playoffs in the LCS.
The word that comes to mind when you think of having Damonte on Golden Guardians is it's potent. The potency that you're going to have now from having a player of his play style, his champion pool, and his aggression in the mid lane is absolutely going to be a difference maker for the Golden Guardians, let alone as far as results. I'm sure that's going to be a difference, but at least from the eyeball test, from when you're watching these games, certainly is going to be a very different looking Golden Guardian squad, just with that one change to the mid lane. Keeping, obviously, again, pluses on a domestic talent and getting Damonte out of academy hell with Dignitas. I don't know what decision's going on there, but certainly a good decision from Golden Guardians adding DeMonte to this lineup. This lineup with Golden Glue had shown us the flashes of potential, shown us the greatness that can be seen on this roster and what special things that they bring to the Rift. Adding DeMonte and changing things up in that mid lane to be more aggressive, more of that play style, I think that is absolutely going to be a strong change for the Golden Guardians.
And it would be a shame after what he did in Academy for him to not get a starting LCS spot. People, us included, were even talking about last split. Maybe you start him over Froggen. He's been that good. You were trying anything you could on Dignitas. So happy to see him on Golden Guardians. Golden Glue still on the squad, going to be on Academy. And Keith has role swap back to AD carry on the Academy team. Who he is going to be the starting support. Can't imagine them swapping him out again. So Golden Guardians in at number 6. And honestly, might have the potential to climb a little bit higher. The squad right ahead of them is FlyQuest. And how's the team that finished second? They got to the finals against Cloud9. How are they all the way down at number 5? Well, a couple of the teams above them made some moves that I think will actually improve them. And even though Solo looks to be the starter throughout, no Viper, I think FlyQuest overperformed what most people were expecting in spring.
I'm just not ready to buy into Solo as the prime option for this FlyQuest roster in the top side. When you start talking about these type of organizations, these teams, and what they're trying to succeed, what their goals are, FlyQuest is to get that championship, to be at the very top, not just in the playoffs anymore. And when you're talking about that level of success, Solo's not the guy that I'm booking at the beginning of the season for that level of success. Yes, I know that the playoff run was very good from him, very stable in that top side into multiple tough matchups for the FlyQuest squad, and it was key in getting them as far as they were able to get. I just don't think that we're going to be able to see that level of play for any level of real consistent stretches long enough for FlyQuest to be a top level team.
We have seen him have stints on both Clutch and Echo Fox where he was playing at a really high level. You're talking about an all-pro level, and the fall-off has been very quickly. So we've got to see the consistency through multiple splits before we're fully confident in it. One of those squads ahead of FlyQuest that made some off-season moves that should improve them, which sounds a little bit confusing when you're talking about Team Liquid, because usually a team that loses the face of the LCS shouldn't be talking about improving from the last split. But I think it's kind of consensus that with Doublelift off of Team Liquid, it's going to just be a weight lifted off, and it's going to put more pressure on Jensen, Broxa, and Impact, no doubt. But they might thrive not having that we have to play around bot lane. We are Team Liquid. I think you're going to see Jensen have an even better split, and just the team as a whole, even without Doublelift, no question this is a playoff team. This is a team that could still be making a deep playoff run, even with Tactical on the roster, and they're all fired up. They're not finishing 9th again, Mark.
You look at all the stars on the Team Liquid lineup, and they shine so bright, but when you had Doublelift there as well, the Doublelift star kind of shined brighter than all the others, making them seem dull, and people forget how talented the rest of this roster is and not giving them enough credit that, look, when a Doublelift isn't there, these players are more than talented enough and more than aggressive enough to seize these opportunities for success and put the pedal to the metal in the rest of this LCS lineup. When you're looking here at what you talked about, thinking that this could be an improvement without Doublelift goes to say just how poor the environment was in the team situation during this past spring split. When you look at these players, you look at what they've done over their careers and the talent level that they can provide. Absolutely, it's a no-brainer that it's got to be better this split and a return to the meme normal here at 4th place for Team Liquid in our standings.
Yeah, when things go awry and you finish 9th, everything just goes full circle. We're back to 4th, but most of the players on this roster are still an all-pro level, as we've seen on the past. Whether or not Doublelift is on the roster, Liquid comes in at number 4. Team Solo mid. The squad Doublelift went to, Kabe wasn't the issue. We've talked about that to death. The voice of Doublelift, I think, is it's definitely more important to come to this roster than the individual mechanics or individual play. Spica is still going to be a huge question mark. Yes, absolutely. But I just can't put a team with Doublelift and Bjergsen not in the top 3 in North America.
And the crazy thing is not putting them any higher, which will speak to some of the strengths of the teams that will be ranked ahead of them. But it also does talk about the question marks and the amount of time that it's been to get to this spot for TSM and with this roster that, look, when you're talking about, even the bot lane of Biofrost and Doublelift, you're thinking, wow, this is great. I'd take it almost against anything that any LCS squad could throw at you. And then you realize what some of the other bot lanes are and how things have gone over the past time. And then again, a player like Doublelift, who I don't have a lot of concerns about getting back to a peak level of performance, but it still is something that you got to consider somewhat of a question mark as far as the level of play that we saw last split. And then, of course, all the outside of the game type of stories going on for Team Solo Mid just detract from the level that you can be excited about this squad and the opportunity that faces them to find success and to prove a lot of doubters and haters wrong this split.
Broken Blade playing weak side, Spica playing on the big stage, the bot lane meta suiting Doublelift, or Doublelift playing the bot lane meta. How impactful is it actually going to be? Those are the three pretty large and in charge question marks for TSM heading into this split. And I mean, some of those relate to other teams as well, but they're still in the top three. The reason they're behind a team like Evil Geniuses in at number 2. Okay, they didn't make the finals. They lost before to FlyQuest, but the carry potential of Jizuke and Bang is second only to the guys on Cloud9. They were both second team All-Pro. They have Huni. Don't think he's going to be playing a game because that would mean you have to sub out Jizuke or Bang on the LCS, maybe in week 9 when the games are meaningless. But really, that's a 2021 investment, and Kumo is the biggest issue for them, and he is going to be potentially a liability in the top lane. I think Svenskeren has a much better split this year as well, and if you combine him with Jizuke and Bang, that's a lethal trio to have.
That's all Evil Geniuses needs, and number one, good on them changing the logo. I think we're still not quite.
I think it'll change the logo every split.
We're still not quite there. The easiest answer is just use the actual old logo. That's the one that people want. But hey, we're getting closer there, and closer to MVP level performance is what Evil Geniuses is gonna have to get from Svenskeren if they want to justify being number 2 in our power rankings and to continue this positive trend for them. Because when you look at this roster and the success that they have, Jizuke and Bang are filling the roles that they need to be. Getting that level of performance from them, absolutely big. But if you're going to take that next step, if you're going to stay at this top level in the LCS, you're going to have to get more. And you're going to have to get more from Kumo and from Svenskeren. And I think the easiest answer and the most likely answer for Evil Geniuses is to get an increase in performance from Svenskeren and translate that into helping out Kumo in the top side. I think that is exactly what Evil Geniuses needs to improve upon last split's already surprising level of success.
And the meta setup is there for them to kind of hide some of their issues, throw Kumo on a tank. And what's really good in the meta right now in the jungle? Kindred, Graves, Nidalee. Svenskeren loves those champions. He's free of the shackles of TSM. We saw him expose himself on Cloud9, where he can be that carry that he was early on with TSM. I want to see it on Evil Geniuses as well.
Yeah, hey, you got to answer, buddy. Svenskeren is the MVP. Look what just happened after you got replaced on Cloud9. Your boy Blabber stepping through and becoming the king of the North American jungle. Let's see Svenskeren fight back this split.
Yeah, and that will be the biggest key for Evil Geniuses. But there was enough at the end of the split, even in the playoffs. Even though they lost to FlyQuest, that was a bad day for them. I think they play 5 games or 5 best ofs in a week. Evil Geniuses are winning 4 out of those 5. They're the better team. They just weren't on that day. All credit to FlyQuest. They were absolutely better. EG was the only team to take a game off of Cloud9 in that playoff run. So they're in at number 2, and really the list should have ended there. Like there's almost not even a point to doing number 1 because you'd just be memeing or trying to be controversial if you possibly in your right mind put any team above Cloud9. You'd be insane.
I like how you mentioned that Evil Geniuses was the squad to get that, the one game off of Cloud9 in any type of series, because it's important to think of it as, Cloud9 is our version of Thanos here in North America, because all that just for one drop of blood, one game is all they were able to take off of the Kings. And they said, nah, okay, let's end this right here. That is exactly the position that Cloud9 find themselves in North America. They are the king of the for fun region, because I tell you what, when you look at their gameplay, it's not from the for fun region. They're having fun in what they're doing, and it's because they're stomping all the competition in the way that they've played. You can look at so many parts of this Cloud9 roster to find the absolute levels of success that they're getting, all the way from top down to the bottom lane and everywhere in between. This has got to be your top team in North America.
They were the entire first team All-Pro in spring. TSM took the only game in the regular season. That's why they're number 3. Number 2 and 3 are the only teams that took a game off of Cloud9. But, I mean, the starters are all coming back. Coaching staff is still intact. No reason to not put them in number 1. It's just, I mean, how many games do they drop? Can other teams step up and actually give them some competition? And can we raise the level of North America from the incredibly low bar that was set in spring?
I hope that we can raise that bar this split. If you're talking about challenging Cloud9, I don't think it's going to get any better at the very top. I think at the very peak, that is, the Cloud9 is so far ahead of what we will be able to get in North America. Looking at the top of that lineup, you got Licorice, so solid in the top. Blabber and Niski, that jungle duo, unbelievably strong. And then, of course, Sven and Vulcan are the duo in the bot side to keep an eye on. Cloud9s are the kings of North America.
Yeah, and if you look at Team Liquid, TSM, Evil Geniuses, maybe the closest teams to maybe make some kind of noise against them. Real quick, because we didn't talk about it, we're jumping back. Team Liquid, Jat. How's he going to do as a coach? That's another thing to look at for that squad. I have no idea how he will actually do as a head coach, especially with Kane still on the team.
There's a lot of question marks in that regard to Team Liquid, but I still have faith in those veterans that we talked about, and that they are not only veterans, that they are star players that are going to have to be able to step up and carry once again. I've got no doubts that they can find that level of play. It is going to be an extremely interesting thing to see what flavor Jat brings to this Team Liquid lineup and what he brings to the LCS.
And how important has coaching been in the LCS when you look at a team like Cloud9, who has perennially, since 2015 when they had that gauntlet run, they've always been in the top of North America, top 3. It has been Reapered, who has been at the helm for so long. Don't tell me head coaches and coaching staff don't matter in the LCS. Just look at TSM over the last 3 years, and then look at Cloud9.
Let alone in the LCS, as I've said, the very clear example, internationally, which is obviously, we got to take baby steps, of course, talking about North America, but internationally, that's the goal, is to be a stronger region and perform better at that level. Coaching is an extreme factor in getting there. It's one that I know that, yes, raw talent and skill, all these type of things from a player perspective can get you there. But as an X factor outside of those 5 players that are logging into the game to play, coaching staffs and the right ones and the ones that can communicate well with their players absolutely can provide massive levels of difference over the other teams.
Cloud9 is number 1 on the list. You're crazy if you think otherwise. That's it for League Unlock. Mark and Eric here today. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we will catch you guys and gals on the flippity flop.